Crazy doesn't always have to be the most complex or the most wild possibility out there. Sometimes it's about how unexpected it is, and it can be unexpectedly simple or unexpectedly unconventional.
In these experimentations, right, and even in iterating or in ideating, the crazier things tend to be fresher, right, and bring kind of this new perspective or new applications in different fields. Have there ever been any experiments that you've done or you've observed in the team that has been so-called too crazy or too difficult to bring back into something feasible or viable?
I think, so to backtrack a bit, right, when you say crazy, sometimes the team picks up different things. Crazy might not be most technically challenging. Crazy might be, wow, this is such a cheap way to do this, is so interesting. And one of, like, a project that's ongoing right now, we're looking at how do we get tactile interaction, and we're looking at mechanical means to do that. And by chance, we're playing with magnets, and then the magnets gave us a really kind of interesting push-pull interaction from the way that they were arrayed. So for the team, it's like, wow, that's really interesting, because it, not that it cost nothing, but it was such a simple device to build, right? It didn't fulfill the entire the entire experience that we're looking for, but it gave us maybe 60%, 70% of what we wanted. And that became like, whoa, this is really cheap to do, and we can do it really fast. So sometimes, depending on the team working, crazy might be a different element. Like, that became crazy because it's like crazy low cost or crazy easy to do. So I think that's one part of it, right? Crazy doesn't always have to be the most complex or the most wild possibility out there. Sometimes it's about how unexpected it is, and it can be unexpectedly simple or unexpectedly unconventional to do. So on to kind of like the crazy stuff which never gets implemented. I think those happen. I think quite naturally so, and it's more so. I think it's more about the selection process or the decision making process at saying, because when we generate experiments, it's never singular, right? It's usually a multiple, and it's about, hey, given the amount of knowledge that we have at this point, how do we make a good enough decision to cull down to stuff that so depending on the team and depending on the team's appetite for risk, sometimes we cull more conservatively, sometimes we take some bets, and it's always about, I think, like we mentioned earlier, about increasing progressively increasing the fidelity. So from an idea that's, hey, this is kind of wild, let's build it, let's test it, and then we see what happens. At some point you say, to get to something really useful is going to take too much effort, and then we stop the experiment there. There's cases where we go all the way, and then we realize that, hey, this idea is ahead of its time, or it might not be appropriate for the market. Then it's kind of, you just have to concede and say, hey, you know what, let's park it. There's information that we'll learn for it. Maybe it'll be useful in a later date.